Hello and welcome to another episode of Canadian Stacker, where we like to talk about precious metals, world events, and well, financial things, financial markets. If that's what you like, you've come to the right place. Today, once again, I'm on the lovely Ottawa River at Lower Ostrom. This may be my last trip here this year. Commercially, I'll probably come a couple of times myself, but to my knowledge, there's no more bookings for the rest of the season, and today being Labor Day weekend, usually we start winding things down here. So, what is going on? Well, been doing a little bit of reading because I had some spare time last night, and it turns out that the Russian Federation, President Vladimir Putin, said that Russia next week is going to be cutting oil reserves, not oil reserves, but oil output. And why are they going to do this? Well, they want to punish the U.S. That's their and the G7. That's their their strategy. Like, they have economic sanctions against them, and their way of hitting us is that. But that's not the only big news. It turns out that Saudi Arabia and the King of Saudi Arabia have announced that they're going to cut hand and foot with Russia, and so is the United Arab Emirates, and Iran's probably going to be cutting as well, and Brazil. So. And I would imagine Venezuela. So what does this mean exactly? Well, last time Russia cut, it started driving the oil price up from 70, and it's now resting around 88.90, I believe, this weekend. So oil has been coming up quite a bit, and that cut was 500,000 barrels. And in total, with OPEC getting involved, it was just a little over 1 million barrels that they cut. What could we see this time? Well, I could see Russia doing a 250 to 350,000 barrel cut, to bring their production level down. Now, why would Russia do that? There's an oil cap. They can't afford to do that. Well, it turns out that other countries like China have been buying up all of the glut of oil from Russia, because they're like, hey, you don't have to, only get $60 a barrel selling to other countries in Europe or the West. You could sell it to us, and we'll pay more. And Russia and all that financial damage that was done to them when we first put the sanctions and that on have been pretty much wiped away, and Russia put in a positive turn up. And even with this oil barrel cut of, let's say, that 250 to 350,000 range, Russia's still going to be putting out a lot of oil. They're going to cut, let's say, another 4 or 5% of their oil output, and let's say the price of oil goes from 88 to who knows. Let's say it goes back to financial crisis times, back up to $1.25, $1.40 in that range. He's going to be rolling in the dough. So this is what they're doing to affect us, and we need energy. And the Fed there, they were talking about pausing because of job problems. Well, they weren't, but the pundits are, because of job problems and all that. But if oil prices go up, that inflation rate's going to go up. That price and need for more interest rate hikes are going to come in, and Russia and the OPEC nations are going to drive us to raise interest rates in order to fight inflation because of the price of oil. And what's causing this big problem? Well, go woke, go broke, I believe, is the chant that's been going around lately. And while the West is like, oh, I want EV vehicles, and we weren't ready for it, and I want this and I want that, like a spoiled little child, and they haven't invested in the oil and gas sectors very much. And now is the time. The iron is hot. What is the saying? When the iron's hot, we strike iron, So Russia feels like it's in a good position, and so does OPEC. And why not? You got other nations that are filling the gap for the price of oil, and will they be able to afford the higher prices? Like, just think about that for a minute. The house is sawed, and Russia promised to make sure that for all of September, and I believe October, that oil will remain at whatever price it is for the purchasers that have already pre-purchased. Would you look at that? So that's a way that they're going to fight other countries getting crippled by higher oil prices, but it won't help us for that 2-month window. And China has a stockpile of 3 million tons of oil now. They've been inflating these basically gigantic Olympic-sized swimming pools and filling them with oil, cheap Russian oil, for months. The U.S. has been draining its strategic oil reserve off. Uncle Sam's just about tapped out. China's got 3 million tons of oil. A barrel of oil, 45 gallons times 7, like a barrel of oil, I think, is around about 1070, around about 350 pounds a ton. Let's say you get 5 barrels per ton, 5 times, that's 15 million barrels onshore oil sitting in China to help them alleviate their oil problems. 15 million barrels, and that's just me kind of guessing, and that's the world guessing and assuming that that's what China has. But 15 million barrels of oil, I know they use a lot, but that'll help with their imports. Like a lot. They'll be able to shelter it off, and my numbers might be wrong. It could be more barrels of oil than that are stored onshore. And the SDR, well, we can't drain that anymore. Joey played that card already, trying to keep inflation down for the election. He thought he could do it, and well, I think he blew it. And I think things are going to get really nasty pretty soon. And either makes a comeback and they lock us down and stop us from using oil like last time. Again, we're going to see really high energy prices in Europe and all that. You need to look behind the curtain to see what the Wizard of Oz is doing to know what's going on. And if you haven't come to the understanding of that yet, you're not playing the same game of checkers that Joe has been losing for a long time now. So what exactly does that mean for us here in the Western countries? Well, inflation is going to rear its head big time. Europe is going to turn into a big stagnant hole. And I feel that if that winds up drawing out by the end of September, we go to, let's say, September, mid-October, to 150 US dollars a barrel, somewhere in that price range. I have heard as high as 300 from what I've been reading. And if that happens, well, yeah, it's pretty much going to be financial doom, in my opinion. The stock markets are looking like they're about ready to tank already. Throw that another shrimp on the Barbie. What does that mean for precious metals, though? All the banks have been buying, and they want to drive silver and gold down, I think, right now a lot. So this huge moment here is going to put an absolute pressure on the precious metals if that happens. If the U.S. starts jacking interest rates, everybody will first start running to bonds, which will do nothing to protect them from inflation. And that'll go on for a little while. And then once people realize what the heck is going on in the game that's being played, all that cheap precious metal will be bought up and it'll be gone. And I think the rocket ship will leave the United States heading for orbit on the price in USD terms. Now, are we at a top for purchasing power for gold? No. Gold and silver are going to do just fine. We're going to go back to, Weinmark Germany style probable inflation. We'll see some hyperinflation, which will make gold and silver worth a whole bunch. A bunch of people will be underwater. They'll want to sell off their assets. They'll start with the crap, like the financial markets, mortgage-backed securities, which they're already selling. They'll get into some other things. They'll start trying to sell off and liquidate harder their business properties, like the retail store properties and all that. The food will dry up in the stores, and everybody will be doing everything they can to try and find something of value. And this is where gold and silver and platinum and all the other stuff will shine, including food preps, because you'll be able to trade at that point, I think, like at a much better rate for your precious metals, and release that back into the world. And you will gain a bunch of actual physical assets, which will be suppressed at that point. But gold and silver will be up. I know a bunch of people say it can't happen. We're either going to go to a place of violence that we've never seen on this planet, or pretty close to World War II level stuff, or we're going to hyperinflate and we'll do it peacefully, and we'll figure it out. Those are the options, and I don't like any of those options, but like I've said before, the U.S. could, go back to 2018, 2017 spending levels and pay off their debt. But the problem is if Russia destroys the commodities market, along with OPEC and oil and all that, because oil directly affects everything that we have. It affects food, it affects vehicles, tires, you name it. Oil is the only thing that's used more than silver on this planet. And Russia controls a lot of it, and OPEC and them together control a heck of a lot of it. So there'll be like a huge time period where the West is, pretty much beholden to oil, and they'll either have to really double down on this green energy stuff that they want, or they'll have to start drilling in our national reserves and start pulling oil out, because those are going to be the only options of salvation, I think, in the near future. I don't know. I've got concerns now, like I was looking at 3 to 5 years to the collapse. Now, if this happens, I don't know. I have to rethink my calculus on that. It could be this winter. I'm just going to be a realist. Like I'm as ready as I can reasonably be without, like spending all of my my dry powder on more preps. And to me, it's not worth it, because I got a feeling we're going to see a drop, and I'd like to get involved in the drop over anything else. But they keep saying everything's all set up. It's all set up. Silver and gold are ready to go. But I think we got one more leg down, like I've been saying for a long time. Another printing cycle, and then we're going to be off to the races. And I see the printing cycle beginning soon, depending on what happens with this oil. That'll dictate my thought processes coming up in the future. But at this time, I'm going to try to hope that it doesn't affect the price of oil too drastically. But if it does, I'm going to have to rethink my calculus if we get back above that $125 a barrel price, because last time we were this high prices on oil, there was in Canada no carbon tax on our fuel. Right now I'm paying $1.72 a liter for fuel, and oil is cheaper still by $40 a barrel than it was 10 years ago. And 10 years ago I was only paying 96 cents or something like that. That's how much tax, that's how much inflation, like doubled the price, and the price of oil is lower. So pretty much oil's had 100% inflation put on it at the pump. And if it goes to 150, goes up 80%, that's 160% at the pump, and that's what, $4, $3.50 to $4 a liter. And if it goes to 300, my gosh, man, can you imagine $9, $10 a liter in Canada, like $7, $8, $9 US for per liter? That works out to like a $27 gallon. I can't even go there in my mind. That's just bonkers, and that might be literally a year away at most. If things go the way that they could. So just keep your eyes looking forward. Keep prepping. Keep doing your work at home. Stay on top of things. And once again, I'm just a dude down by the river. None of this is financial advice. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm just a dude down by the river. I know nothing. I have no education in it. I just worked for a couple of Fortune 500 companies, truck driving for a couple of decades. I help run a whitewater rafting company. I've seen what's been coming so far. I've lived through a couple of financial downturns already, and the tea leaves, man, they're looking the way that they should for something awful. But I can't say I'm financial advice, because, well, I don't have that college or university education that lets me say, oh, you can take me at my word. I'm not like what's his name there, Jerome Powell. I can't give advice on things. I don't have 400 PhD people working for me telling me what to say and how to screw things up. I just look at it from a viewpoint of my loaf of bread. Went from $1.59 2 years ago to $3.50, $4 a loaf, and they told me it was only 7% inflation over the last 2 years times 2, 14%. But that loaf of bread more than doubled. My milk went from $3.99 for a 4-liter bag. I know it's weird in America to hear a bag, but a 4-liter bag from $3.99 to like almost $8. I got 100% inflation in a lot of the things I use, and I see it getting a whole heck of a lot worse. And the government doesn't even use what we use, as a form of inflation. They don't count fuel, they don't count food, they don't count anything you need to live. They just count this other weird stuff that doesn't really apply too much to your life. So, but like I said, I'm not financial advice. And if you enjoy this type of content, please consider subscribing, sharing, and liking this video. Also, Miss Canadian Stacker is working on trying to make me, rather than a turd, a polished turd, and she's been working on some intro footage and some outro footage, and she told me it might be ready today. And if it is, I don't know, maybe I could figure out how to do that, and maybe my video might look a little bit better. But anyways, until next time, keep your thumb to the sky and keep on stacking, okay? And have a great and wonderful day. Oh, and by the way, enjoy Labor Day weekend. It's only here once a year. May as well enjoy it today. Until next time, have a great one.